Okay. Today is April 22nd, 2017. We are at Hope Creek Care Center in East Moline, Illinois. My name is Megan Meyer. I will be interviewing Richard Frutiger.
Can't hear you.
It's okay. For the Illinois Veterans Project on behalf of the Moline Public Library. Richard was born on December 27th, 1927 and is 89 years old. Also present is William Van Boren. Okay, you ready?
Right.
All right. When and where were you born?
Moline,
All right.
1927. I lied like hell to get in the Marine
You were
Corps.
on the front lines.
I was actually in the Marine Corps.
So you weren't on the front lines. What were your duties while you were?
I was 15 years old.
15.
15 in the Marine Corps.
No, what'd you do?
Carlson Raider Battalion.
Oh, Dark
They took me out of the
Okay, so what'd you do with that?
cook
Did you?
shack. They made a chief cook out of me, and then when the war broke out, we didn't even know it was over with. We were hiding up in Okinawa, and I was teaching the Slavics how to shoot 20 millimeters. The damn Navy couldn't hit a bull in the ass. And I was a Marine, and I
Did you make
was
any
aboard a
special
ship.
friendships while you were there?
teaching the Navy how to shoot 20 millimeters and machine guns and everything they make, you know. But I was a Marine.
Okay.
Pretty proud of it. I love the Marine Corps.
Did you stay
They
in
made a
touch
man
with
out of me and not a little boy.
Who were your parents?
Pardon me?
Who were your parents? What were their names?
The parents?
Yes.
Albert Frutiger.
Okay.
What was their job?
Huh?
What was his job?
My job?
His job.
Your dad's job. What was your dad's job?
My dad's shop was in Rock
While you were
Island.
in service, how did you keep in
All right.
contact with your friends and family?
Did you have any
back home?
siblings?
What?
Any siblings? Did you have brothers or sisters?
Did I have any kids?
Brothers or
So you
sisters?
wrote letters?
Brothers or sisters?
Oh, me, I had, let's see, I had 3 brothers and 1 sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. What did you do before you entered in the service?
The what?
What did you do before the war?
Before the war?
Yeah.
What
Me?
did you
Yeah.
do for fun
I
while
was
you
a
were
barber.
on duty? In your free
I had
time?
my own barber shop. My dad's barber shop, you know.
Okay.
And
Anything else?
we,
So where were you in the war?
I wound up with my own barber shop with my dad's, you know. And
I was working at the bakery.
I was a chief cook and become a chef.
Okay.
And then the war broke out, and they said, take that cook out of there and make a cook out of him. Well, I become chief cook and then
And how
chef.
did you return home?
And we were in Okinawa aboard a ship, the USS New Kent. And I was teaching the Navy Swabies how to shoot 20 millimeters and machine guns. The damn Navy couldn't hit a bull in the ass.
And then how
We
were
were
you
kid-
received by your family? and
Marine
your
Corps was
family?
teaching them how to shoot. We,
I think the wife went
well, my dad's barber
And
shop
how did
in
you
his barber shop.
adjust to the
And
civilian life?
I took over the barber shop finally, and he retired, and I opened up 7 judo and karate schools. Because in China, after the war, well, during the war, I was mostly in China, except for Okinawa, and
And have you
actually the
remained in
war, you
contact
know,
or reunited with any fellow veterans?
Okinawa was a hot spot, you know. We're teaching the Navy boys how to shoot, because they couldn't hit a bull in the butt.
And
The
what have
Navy
you
couldn't.
done since
We had the Marine Corps teaching them. We taught them.
Yeah.
We taught them good.
Anything besides
Do you remember any of like your instructors?
Pardon me?
Any of your instructors? like your military like sergeant or something that would your officers in charge of you?
Do you remember any of your officers?
In the bakery.
Well, I was a chief cook,
Oh, okay.
chief cook, and then chef.
In the bakery.
And then after the war,
How did your wartime experience
they-
affect your life?
they did. We did. Our division didn't even know that the war was over with. Here we were still shooting Japs,
Today, my son,
and
Marshall drinking.
so we were hiding up in the mountains in Okinawa, and
Son?
My son,
wiping out Japs. I mean, wiping them clear out. We put them all on the ground where they belong.
he couldn't lay the.
They started the war, we finished it.
He all wanted to
Well-
We,
do. He wanted to work, he wanted to do anything.
and then I spent the rest of my time in the Marine Corps in China. I stayed in China for 8 years.
8 years.
Hell, I was a citizen, you know, in China. I love China. And
Did you learn any
finally,
life lessons
when
from
we
your
were hiding
experience?
up in the mountains in Okinawa, and we didn't even know the war was over with.
Has military service
We were
impacted
waiting
your feelings
to
about
shoot,
war?
you know. We were finally
shooting.
Finally, we started shooting Japs. We was killing Japs like crazy, and
Because
they,
we took military basic training.
we got so good that
For its, combat
I finally wound up as chief cook,
field.
and then finally head of the whole department, you know. And
But I've had.
my dad was a cook, and he worked for me then, and then I opened up 7 judo and karate schools in China after the war.
What
and,
message would you like to leave for future
We were up in the mountains of Okinawa, and we didn't even know the war was over with.
Yeah.
We're hiding up there, and finally our outfit was 1st Division Marine Corps. We're teaching Swabbies how to shoot straight, you know.
Realize,
Them
they don't
Them
realize.
Swabbies couldn't hit a bull in the ass.
how they got made in their-
We had to teach them. But
says you go to
we
foreign country.
we taught
Is there anything that we haven't discussed?
after
that
the
you'd like
war
to
was
talk
over
to us
with.
about?
We were still hiding up in the mountains, waiting for the war to end.
Well,
But it finally did end.
5 minutes.
They made a chief cook out of me, and I said, before it was over with, and they said, well, you're too good a rifleman. We don't need you in
thank
a
you so much.
bean burner. I said, you know,
All right.
you're an expert. And I said, well, yeah. I said, you won the world's championship with an M1 rifle, didn't you? I said, yeah. I was just a kid. I was 15 years old. Lied like hell to get in the Marine Corps.
We'll be talking for quite a
I was tougher than hell, boy. I killed more damn Japs than you could count, you know.
No,
And
Are you sure?
I finally, they said,
So much for your time. It's been great.
put that guy up in
guys, don't surprise me
a,
next time.
said, put that guy up in a tree, get him out of the galley. He's an expert. I won the world's championship with an M1 rifle. Imagine that? I was just a kid, 15 years old. I lied like hell to get in the Marine Corps. But I love the Marine Corps.
What kind of food did you cook?
What?
What kind of food did you cook? What'd you cook when you were there?
When I was cooking,
Yeah, what'd you cook?
I was chief cook.
Okay.
And then finally master chef. And the war broke out, and we were hiding in the mountains, and the war was over with, and we didn't even know it. And so finally we come out of the mountains and start killing Japs. Man, we killed Japs like crazy. They started the war, we finished it. And the Japs, they said, well, Dick, we're taking you out of the galley, and I made chief cook, and then the chef finally, and they said, take him out of that galley. He said he's too good a rifle shot. See, we didn't know the war was over, you know. And we're hiding up in the mountains in Okinawa. And finally, after the war, they decorated us to the Marine Corps, you know, for Okinawa and all the Asiatic, you know, places. And I love the Marine Corps. I was a tough little shit. I shot more Japs than they could count.
Okay, let's see. What did you do like when you were off duty?
The what?
When you were off duty, when you weren't like in a fight or anything, a battle.
Before I went in the Marine Corps?
No, when you were in the Marine Corps, what would you do when you were off duty?
Oh, I was a cook, chief cook. And then finally I made chef. And we were hiding up in the mountains. And I was teaching the Navy how to shoot a rifle at dummies. They couldn't hit a bull in the ass. So I was aboard the USS Nikan and teaching the Navy boys how to shoot straight. And I was chief cook then, and then finally I made chef, and I'm still up in the mountains, you know, and our division didn't even know the war was over with. They didn't even know it. We're hiding up in Okinawa and waiting for the war to end, you know, my division. And finally, we figured it out, and there's this Japs, lousy was Japs in China, and we wiped them out. Boy, I mean, we wiped them out. Kill every damn Jap that had slanted eyes, and I made chief cook, and then finally chef, and then we figured it out. The war was over with. We said, "Well, hell, the war is over with." So we start killing the Japanese or killing Chinese troops, you know. And I made chief cook, and then I made chef, and we figured out that the war was over with, and we're still shooting at them, you know. The damn the Japanese are killing us right and left, see? Our army. And so we figured it out, and the war was over. Well, for us it was over, but the Japanese are still killing our army, wiping our army out. And I'm aboard a ship called the Okinawa. I was teaching the Navy how to shoot automatic weapons, you know, 20 millimeters and 50 calibers. And so we figured it out, and the Japanese was winning the war over there in Okinawa. And we were hiding up in the mountains. They didn't even know we were there. We didn't even know we were there. And I said, what the hell kind of war is this? So we got in. I made chief cook, then chef, and then after the war was over, they said you're up for decoration. I said, what do you mean? He said, so you're a top gun. I said, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, for a cook, a bean burner, boy, you're a pretty good shot. And he said, well, I figured it out. I won the world's championship with an M1 rifle. I shot every damn thing. They had slanted eyes. And they made the chief cook out of me, and then finally chef. And then when the war, we realized the war was over with, we're still hiding up in the mountains. We're still shooting Japs. So finally, we wiped the Japs out. We buried them all in Japan. We shot the hell out of them, boy. And I was chief cook then, and then finally I made chef. And finally we realized the war was over with, and we're hiding up in the mountains. But it wasn't over with us. They're still shooting at us. So we killed everything that had slanted eyes. And we killed, I made chief cook and then finally chef. And after the war, we're hiding up in the mountains in Okinawa. And I'm teaching Swabbies how to shoot a rifle. And 20 millimeters, all automatic weapons now. And we killed more damn Japs than you could count in Japan. And we finally come out of the mountains because Japan was winning the war over there in Okinawa. And we were watching them. We were told to just stand by. We stood by all right, and we watched them. The Japs almost wiped out the American Army. And then I made chief cook and I made chef. And then they said, take that guy out of the galley. He's too good a shot. So they put me up in the mountains in Okinawa, and on a ship called Niken, and I was killing Japs like the dozens, and we were hiding up in the mountains. Our division was, and finally we figured it out that Japs are taking over Okinawa. Well, they wiped out our army, and finally they took us out, and we went after the Japs. We wiped them out. Christ, there wasn't nothing left of a Jap. And we made, I made chief cook and then chef, and they said, take that guy off of that ship. He's teaching them Swabbies. Said, take him out of there. He's an excellent. He just won the world's championship. I won a world's championship against the Japs. I shot everything that had slanted eyes. And I love Japan. I love Japan and China both. But we helped, well, we figured it out. We're hiding in the mountains, waiting for the war to end, and the hell was over with. We didn't know it. And then finally, we figured it out. The Japs were wiping out our army. And so we figured it out. We come out of the mountains, and we start killing Japs like crazy. We wiped the Japanese. We damn near wiped Japan off the face of the earth because a bunch of little slant-eyed bastards. We killed them, boy. We killed them right and left because they're a bunch of warmongering wars. They started the war, we finished it. I was a chief cook teaching these guys, how to shoot weapons, and they said, Navy weapons. I was a Marine, and they said, take that guy out of there. He said, he's an expert shot. And they made me, I was a chief cook finally, and then I was chef, and we figured it out. We're hiding up in the mountains of Okinawa, waiting for the war to end. The hell was over. We didn't know it. So our division is hiding up there, and we figured it out. The war was all over, but they were still killing us off, see? The Japs were our army, but they didn't know it. We didn't know it until we figured it out. Well, hell, this is crazy. So we were hiding up in the mountains, and finally we got the word, you know, that killing damn Japs. And boy, we started killing them. We wiped the American army was wiped out by the Japs, and so we took over, and we started killing Japs like crazy. Well, we wiped them out, and when it was all over, they had a big parade and everything for us. I made chief cook and then chef, and then I made. They said, take that guy out of the galley, and he's a bean burner. Take him out of there. Said he's chief cook, and I finally made chef, and they said, well, take him out of there. He's an expert rifleman. He just won the world championship. I did. I was 15 years old. Lied like hell to get in the Marine Corps. You imagine that? I lied like hell to get in the Marine Corps at 15.
When did you come home?
On Okinawa. I was teaching on board a Navy vessel called the USS New Kent, teaching the Swabbies how to shoot straight. And we watched our army get slaughtered by the Japs on Okinawa, and we're just sitting there waiting. We didn't know the war was over, and so finally we figured it out. So we went down out of the mountains in Okinawa and wiped the Japs out. We wiped them out, boy.
Did you go home after that?
What?
When did you go home?
What?
Did you go home after that?
Yeah, after that I went home, but
What happened after you went home?
before I went home, I was in the contest. They shipped me back to the States because I made chief cook, and then finally Okinawa I made a chef. And they said, get him out of here. This was during the war. Said, get him out of there. He's too good a rifle shot. Said, put him up in a tree with a rifle. He'll kill more Japs than you can count. That's what they done. They took me out of there. They made me a chef. Finally, a chief chef. And they said, take him out. Put him up in a tree. Put him up in the mountains in the trees. And the Japs won't even know we're there until we're ready to turn you guys loose. Well, they waited almost too long. The American army got wiped out by the Japs. The Japs almost won the war, and here we're hiding up in the mountains in Okinawa, teaching our Navy how to shoot, you know. And they finally made me chief cook and then chef, and then they said, get him out of the galley. He's too good a rifle shot. So they put me up, and after the war was over with, and we didn't even know it. We're hiding up in the mountains aboard a ship called the USS New Kent. We're in that ship teaching the Navy how to shoot straight, and they couldn't hit a bull in the ass. The Navy couldn't. We had to teach them. And we after the war, they had a big parade, you know, to decorate us. I made chief cook, and then chef, and then my commanding officer said, "Get him out of there." Said he's too good a rifle shot.
Where was the parade?
They thought we were hiding in a division, our division, because they didn't know the war was over with. And so we're hiding aboard a Navy vessel called the USS New Kent. I was teaching the Navy how to shoot straight. So we got after the end of the war. We're up in the mountains, and I made chief cook and finally chef, and I got in a contest in our division, and the war was over with, and we didn't even know it. We're hiding up in the mountains waiting for the war to end. Well, we finally figured it out. The Japanese was wiping the American army out, and they were slaughtering the army, and we're sitting up in the mountains watching them, and with no orders, And so finally we figured it out that there has to be something wrong here. So we waited and waited, and then we were seeing the Japanese almost wipe out the Chinese soldiers, and then we stepped in and wiped out the Japs. We wiped them out, every damn slant-eyed bastard around. We wiped them out, and we got in. I was teaching aboard the ship then, but they didn't know the war was over with. We didn't know it.
That's quite a story, Richard. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Pardon me?
So that's quite a story. Thank you for sharing.
What?
Thank you for telling us your story. We're going to have to finish up. These kids have to go home, all right?
I can't hear you.
Well, I just want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Okay? All right. Thank you.
But we